Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Damn Good Coffee Time, also known as Twin Peaks Coffee Time. We have a special tonight called Glowing Red Eyes in the Pitch Dark of Night, 3 a.m. coffee time. It's about a recent experience I had where, as you may have guessed, I woke up at 3 a.m. and was somehow, uh, startled awake, I suppose, by some kind of sound. I'm not sure exactly what it was or where it was coming from, but it seemed to be near. And then I heard it sort of just over the hill, and it was kind of owl-like in its noise, I believe. And so I woke up and I went into the kitchen, which is at the back here, I suppose, looking out over there's a sort of path which used to be a railway line. And, the noise then seemed to be centered on this area behind where I live. And it was literally like an old steam train, going through the night, probably a sleeper train or something. And and I literally could almost feel the coffee that was still being served on the train for people who maybe wanted a coffee in the night. I don't know. And there's the typical noises you can imagine. Oh, I'm sorry, I just realized where the sorry, that was just yeah. So basically, I went to the kitchen and I could hear this noise. Dan Peak says, "Is the crotch shot intentional?" That was an accident on my part. You'll have to forgive me for that. I'm sorry, but thanks for asking. It was definitely not intentional. I'm not a sick person. So yeah, let's just get back to the story. And anyway, I couldn't really even see a train. It was more a question of just the hearing. And basically, I then looked deeper and deeper, sort of beyond the brook, which is behind there. And I'm pretty sure I could see two red eyes just beating in the dark, like throbbing almost. So, that was my experience just last night. And all I can say is, it was scary, but at the same time, it sort of sent like a jolt, like a voltage of electricity right up my spine, up through my back and everywhere. And it was just like, whew, what the hell just happened? So I don't know if anybody else can enlighten me as to what the hell that was all about. I would appreciate it. I just wanted to remind anybody who's watching now, and if you can tell people that I will be live for the next probably half an hour or possibly longer. If you want to request any karaoke, I will be doing a bit, but not all karaoke requests will be fulfilled tonight. I will warn you. So Yeah. To know, today I've been out earlier, quite early in the morning, and went into Derby, and the cinema in the centre there is called Showcase Cine Deluxe, and I ended up in screen one at 11 o'clock with my mother watching Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. Mm. Fenton Coopers asks, that sounds like a transcendental experience. I would say it was quite an experience. I'm not sure about transcendental exactly, because I woke up that time and it was very early, and I actually had a strong coffee just afterwards to sort of try and relax myself in a strange way. I don't know if coffee really works in that way, but for me it did. And I collected my thoughts, went back inside, and had a quick look at what was on the news, and all I could see were like these fields on fire, and then they were talking about headlines of some of the papers, and one of them said, one of the crap papers like the Daily Express or Daily Mail said something like, "Run for your life." Another was something like, not burn in hell, but I mean, they probably would wish that on people, I imagine, the Daily Mail, burn in hell. Obviously referencing the terrible wildfires and high temperatures in Greece. So, Josh Backhouse, great to see you here again in the chat, asks, you're not going to be alive in the next half an hour. Well, I can't really predict anything, because as I said, I'm not a psychic, or I don't have just much experience of transcendental experiences like Franton Cooper talks about, but I will still be alive in half an hour, I hope. That's all I can say. But this, the rate things go in these days, it's possible that I don't know, anything could happen really that could cause me to perish. But I hope that doesn't occur. Anyway, thanks for caring, Josh. I appreciate that, because otherwise I could have got quite angry about that comment and started getting really angry and basically start smashing things up here, really, because of your comment. But I'm not like that now. I was, but now I feel like I've overcome that tendency due to mainly listening to PM Dawn. I've got some cassette tapes of Deep Forest, which is a sort of trance-like dance music, which I was recommended to listen to, and also listening to upbeat 80s synth music, like Kajagoogoo or Blancmange, one which Voltaire recommended, called the band's Wang Chung, I think. Dance All Days is a good one. I actually put that on at 3 a.m. yesterday, and not really loud, obviously, but it really helped. Phantom Cooper Wants Mother by Danzy. Danzy is a 80s synth band, I believe. So I'll look that up and I'll probably do that for you, okay? Well, okay. So yeah, feel free to just give me any more comments and things like that. I just wanted to say a thank you to whoever recommended this. Davidoff, Eau de Toilette, Zeno. I've got to say, the smell on it is absolutely a fantastic bouquet. Great smell. Yeah, it's a really pleasant smell. So thank you. I've worn it, and several people have given me some quite good reactions. Like I was walking just down to the pharmacy here, and I could see this woman who went past me with a small child, and she sort of did this kind of look like. So, and then I was also in Derby City Centre, and this man just went, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "That's my that's my new scent called Eau de Toilette, Zeno Davidoff." So there you can see it. So yeah, I went to see Dead Reckoning, the new Mission Impossible film, which is only part one, and overall, I would say I give it 4 bags of popcorn and 3 cans of Shandy Bass. I mean, the film is pretty much, it's very much what it says on the tin, really. So if you like the Mission Impossible films, then I think you will probably really like this one. It's not exactly subtle, if you know what I mean, but it's not exactly subtle, is it, mate? It's not really that subtle. It's more like 2 hours and 43 minutes of basically Tom Cruise looking really serious in the shots where he's got to have some dialogue with various people, namely his Mission Impossible crew. Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson. Of course, there's other people in it. Vanessa Kirby, the villain as such. If he is a villain, I don't know if this film's even got really a specific villain, but he's from the first film, which is the only Mission Impossible film I've never watched for whatever reason. It just never appealed to me at the time. I can even remember really when it came out, because I can remember being in London and it premiering. But that one has probably one of the greatest directors at its helm, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best film in the series. I mean, I really always liked Mission Impossible 2, but people might say to me, are you on crack or something? That film's shit. I mean, but I do have a taste for probably less than mediocre films sometimes. So that's why I'm really looking forward to Exorcist Believer, just chuck in a few shots of dogs fighting with each other, and then it's basically as good as the original Exorcist. But to be honest, I think that'll probably be better than mediocre. But, it's all of it comes down to taste. I mean, some people might go and see this new Mission Impossible and just think, well, it's just one chase sequence after another, one set piece, stunt piece, just relentless, never stopping, really. I mean, it doesn't, once it gets going, it basically is 2 hours, 43 minutes of action. So if that's what you want, then, you'll be happy. And it is frenetic, but I mean, I think some people would think, I need to lie down after this because it's kind of just takes it to the next level of just unbelievability at times. Um, we've got Tom Cruise, who, of course, his age isn't specified in the film, but he's doesn't look 60 for sure. But he's just running at great, like breakneck speed over these quite long distances, all of a sudden, just from standing still. It's kind of almost superhero level, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I think it's very well made for what it is. And some of the action sequences in it are genuinely unpretentiously and probably somewhat old-fashioned in their overall style. I think it almost lacks actually this one one stunt that will, or one kind of scene that will make people really go and see it in some ways. And also the fact that it's part one of two, I think that is a deterrent for audiences, because they're more likely to go, oh, okay, I'll go and see it. I'll see it when it comes to home viewing, which is going to be soon, obviously. I don't know how soon, 2 months, 3 months, but obviously they want to get as much mileage out of it in the cinemas and then promote it again so it's hyped up for the home release. But as far as the box office is concerned for this latest Mission Impossible, it's been a bit under par. I don't know if that's to do specifically with anything that I was talking about, or it could even be about Tom Cruise's rather peculiar interviews and sort of general feeling he gives off in interviews. And yeah, I mean, this film has him wearing the same shades as he wears in Top Gun, not the Top Gun Maverick. Not that that's particularly relevant, but in one interview I saw him talking about this. Or it was basically it was a new interview. It must have been related to a release of this somewhere. But they said, are you going to go and see Oppenheimer or Barbie first? Because of the whole Barbenheimer promotion, which has actually quite clearly worked really well, because they're definitely catering towards different kinds of audiences, or there's bound to be some crossover. But I think it definitely helps Oppenheimer as well because of the light-hearted side of it. Oppenheimer could look rather serious to some people, and that might put them off. So I think a little bit of frivolity in the hype for it and everything helps. And I definitely want to see Oppenheimer later this week because it's showing in Derby on celluloid on 35mm. So I just want to go and see if that really is noticeable. But secondly, I just want to see the film, as Josh Backhouse did. And he actually gave quite a lot of feedback about it, saying that he enjoyed it. But as usual with him, he likes to keep a certain, like he'll be chuckling to himself as he's typing, I imagine. Sort of, I'm not going to tell James all about this film because I know that I'll anger him. And no, I mean, I'm not, I'm saying that it might sound like a joke, but it's serious. So Dan Peake says, I enjoyed it. Fallout and Rogue Nation are my favourites of the series. Yeah, I mean, I think what this film, the only thing it lacked in some sense was one sort of death-defying sequence where there's, where you feel like incredible vertigo or something, which are present in the other films. The one, I think it might have been Ghost Protocol where it's scaling the building, but also another one recently ended was that the last one where Henry Cavill and him are fighting and it's on the edge of a cliff. And I mean, okay, it looks a bit CGI and stuff, but it definitely created something of a sense of vertigo for me and tension. In this, it's just sort of full throttle action all the way through, and there's no time even really to be particularly scared by any kind of sights or anything in the film. Even when he's on the edge of that cliff with the bike, Although it might not be, probably not helped by the fact that I've seen how they do all the stunts just in little videos that come up on YouTube unprompted almost. So yeah, overall, I mean, I'll definitely go and see part two, and I imagine they're going to have to just sort of really excel and do even better with the action for that one. And my mum actually said, "Is the second part going to all be set under the sea?" When I said that this film is sort of old fashioned, it is in terms of the starting off with the whole submarine caper, and then just the nature of all of the set pieces in it. They don't feel like they used extensive CGI in them to me. I mean, they probably did to some extent in some of them, but overall, it does give you the impression also that Tom Cruise is actually doing the stunts. I mean, obviously, he's not doing everything. Obviously, that'd be ridiculous, but it certainly achieves the sensation of it all being like real live action. The parts in Rome are pretty good. I mean, the noticeable scene of them just crashing into all of the mopeds and things, and these kind of things are more particularly noticeable, I think, when you go and see it on the big screen, and the sort of the sound. We were like on the third row from the front, but it's not too close, and just the sound coming from the sides was sort of really impactful for that kind of thing. But yeah, the whole Venice sequence as well was really good. I mean, obviously, I like all of the train stuff as well as the as a sort of cliffhanger, quite literally. But that's similar more to the previous film with the edge of the cliff kind of thing. But I don't really think that they're pushing the boat out in this film, and that's why I say it's old-fashioned in that it almost feels at times like a disaster flick from the 70s, where particularly in that last sequence where it's just sort of hanging on for dear life, which I thought was done really well. When obviously it was pushing the your buttons watching it, but at the same time it's sort of a bit far-fetched. Like, for instance, the classical piano, hanging on just by a hook seemed a bit I think that could have been changed a bit to be a bit more threatening or something. Like in this, even though all of the action is very well done, you don't really feel any great sense of threat, perhaps. But then again, I didn't really feel any during the last Bond film, No Time to Die, which I would compare this with favorably. Really, I would say this is better than No Time to Die in terms of its overall sort of value for money, but and just sheer kind of action bang for your buck, as they say, and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was a really good film. I mean, Vanessa Kirby was good in it, even though I don't think she was in it to an immense degree, and she'll clearly be in the second one. I thought she was quite a good villain. Like I said, I don't think there was really one particular villain. Even really, the woman with the sword as well, who basically, is just a hench woman for the main villain kind of guy, but she's, I mean, she's more important to the film in a way than the main villain guy. So it's, I thought she was good in it as well. No, it didn't feel like 2 hours and 40 minutes, Dan. I would agree with you on that. So anyway, yeah, that's about enough for the Mission Impossible promotion now. I think for anybody who just likes a pretty straightforward action film, and likes Tom Cruise, even likes a varied cast like this has, then and it is a fun film for sure, but it's pretty frenzied, even more so than previous ones, I think, in that it just sort of keeps up a pace constantly. It doesn't have any real variety of maybe the party sequence or this, whereas there's all the lights and the music and everything is a little bit of a respite, but even that is quite intense. So the whole film has an intensity to it. Sort of might sound a bit ridiculous, but I think I mean, it's not a million miles away from using inspiration from Christopher Nolan almost in a way. And if you look at something like Tenet, the way it just is a constant pace throughout it. But but yeah, I enjoyed it more than Tenet. I'll say that, to be honest. So on to I thought I would just show you a few collectibles or purchases on one of these videos when I do them. This one is Diane, the Twin Peaks tapes of Agent Cooper by Simon and Schuster Publishing. This came out in probably 1990 or 1991. Yeah, 1990. And it's 45 minutes. The box is a good collectible. I've still got the promotional thing in it from Simon and Schuster audio books. And this is the cassette of Cooper. It features essentially a number of his speaking to Diane on his voice activated tape recorder, or dictaphone, sorry, I should say. And it also features several bits that are never in the show. They're just recorded for this specifically. So that's one reason people might want to hear it. Although I think this has been put up somewhere on YouTube, but just showing people as a collectible, really. Diane, I'm holding in my hand a small box of chocolate bunnies. Re-experience the mystery of Twin Peaks in an all-new way. The Cooper tapes. The private world of Special Agent Dale Cooper. Previously reserved for one woman, Diane, including notes and stories never revealed on television. From the man in the black suit, Twin Peaks, in his own words. From the man in the black suit. Okay. I don't think Lynch or Frost wrote this blurb on the back of the box. I think this part is, this is not from the show. This is written especially for the tapes. Diane, a small town is not unlike a river. Lots of hidden currents and eddies, each holding its own secrets. My guess is that I haven't even broken the surface yet. Oh, one other thing, Diane. Never drink coffee that has been anywhere near a fish. Well, that's basically a combination of things he said in the show about don't drink coffee that's been near a fish, and then another part at the start which is not from the show. So obviously it's worth hearing and even collecting for people who are into that kind of thing. The front cover is particularly good, rather sort of intricate painting of Cooper, and then I like obviously the top part with the mountains and everything. I don't know who wrote this. It doesn't even credit anybody, as far as I'm aware. It just says produced by Lynch Frost Productions, and it does feature music from Twin Peaks a bit in between, gives you bios of Lynch Frost Productions, David Lynch and Mark Frost. And it's quite funny because it says for Mark Frost, he is currently scripting Good Morning Chicago, the sequel to Good Morning Vietnam. So obviously that was never made. And in terms of the bio of Carl McLachlan, it just ends at his other films include The Hidden and the soon-to-be-released The Doors. So, yeah, I don't know when this was released exactly, because it must have been released more like even almost after the series ended. I don't know, or 91, because when did The Doors come out? 91? Oh, well, it could have been. It probably came out in early 91 or something like that, mid 91. Who knows? But you'd think it would have been released way before the show was actually cancelled or the second season ended. And then this is another pickup of mine here. 52 pickup with Roy Scheider and Anne Margaret. So I'm interested to watch this one, partly because it's directed by John Frankenheimer, so it should be good. But also it's quite novel to be able to watch a film that's 110 minutes as opposed to 2 hours, 43 minutes, which I think, I'm not complaining about it. I enjoyed the time in the cinema, really. It didn't feel that long, as you're saying, Dan, but I mean, I do think it's a bit excessive that they're making these films so long as a result of streaming, etc., because they want to appeal to an audience who wants it at home and pause it, etc. So they can't make probably a shortened version for the cinema and then release it to the streaming with the director's cut, because then that would occlude or sort of just obscure the whole releasing of a director's cut inevitably, which comes down the line further. It's all staged. And so this idea that Mission Impossible 7, if that's what it is like not performing as well as it could do at the box office. I mean, it's still done really well, I think. I mean, it's basically done about the same as the Indiana Jones film and The Dial of Destiny, which I've seen as well and enjoyed. But, they're sort of, I don't know, I think they're kind of really always looking for the next massive, massive, gigantic hit. And I think, honestly, audiences are a bit fed up of just going to the next blockbuster, which is balls to the wall, cockfest. Sorry, Jamie, I apologize for what I just said, but it's now Mission Impossible 7 and it's part 1 or something. I think this is going to put some people off because anything in the advert, I don't necessarily think it's going to jump out and make that many people go and see it. A train going over a cliff from a quarry or into a quarry, which was actually filmed in Derbyshire, where I live. But you wouldn't know that from watching the film particularly, and so on. But it was obvious today because it's the first day properly of the holidays, the school holidays, really, or first week of the school holidays, I mean. And there's, youngsters out with their mums and stuff going to see Barbie. And, it was my nightmare at 11 a.m. thinking this cinema is going to be fairly quiet. But obviously you're not going to get like 6-year-old girls going in to see Barbie. But I don't know. I'm just wondering, are these children going to be enjoying that film? I suppose it's been made for everybody, really. So it sort of appeals both to the people who look at it more subtly, and then it's also got just the wisecrack element to it. But anyway, good on them for making such a big dent at the box office with a film which I'm sure cost a lot less to make than this new Mission Impossible, for instance. So, the profit ratio is much bigger much larger for Barbie. I mean, I'm not going to be there, first in line to see Barbie, but on the other hand, I would watch it from home. I wouldn't have any problem going to see it in the cinema even, really, but it doesn't necessarily it doesn't appeal to me that much. It's a bit too I don't know. It's just, I don't know if it's really aimed at people like me anyway. So yeah, I would agree with you, Dan, about Christopher McQuarrie, and thank you very much, Jamie, for The Doors came out March the 1st, 1991. I was thinking it came out later than that, but makes sense. So probably as soon as they finished filming season 1 of Twin Peaks, he went off to make The Doors. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, I agree with you. Yeah, Martin Campbell again. Or the kind of style of direction as the director of The Living Daylights. Was that John Glenn? Or like Martin Campbell directed the original series of Edge of Darkness, and if you watch that, it has a real just sort of slow burn intensity to it. Or that sounds a bit ridiculous, but it's just really good. And that's what a director should be doing. They should make a really good TV show or film. So, I think there's a sort of light-hearted aspect to the Mission Impossible films that Bond isn't necessarily so much about, especially not these days. But you do need a certain degree of darkness in the Bond films, I think. Like even with The Living Daylights, it had a certain, you felt like the impact of people being shot and things like this. And I mean, it wasn't obviously as sort of intense or bloody as License to Kill, but still it had a real quality to it, Yeah. Martin Campbell made GoldenEye, didn't he? Which is a really good film as well. But, taking it into the later 90s, really. Yeah, and many people say really that Living Daylights and License to Kill especially were quite an influence on the direction that they took Casino Royale and everything with Daniel Craig, which I think is true, even though there's quite a lot of quite a big difference in terms of the way the action sequences and the violence is portrayed. Timothy Dalton had more of a sort of shoot rather than just start getting involved in some kind of brawl. And then whereas with Daniel Craig, a lot of it seemed to be about the fighting, which was very influenced by the Bourne films, where everybody has to possess, and this is true actually of the new Mission Impossible as well, and probably other ones. It's where everyone kind of knows this unbelievable karate, which they're just slamming down, on everyone. It's sort of, it's the kind of mystical Taekwondo way or whatever that someone like Josh Backhouse, when he's in Lancaster, he's walking through the streets and he often will bust out a move just to sort of like try and impress people. And it's, it's not impressive. It's, if anything, it's embarrassing. Just don't do it, please. Especially when you're wearing like skin tight black denim and like massive army black boots, which have got no marks on them whatsoever, and even on the bottom of the sole, it's completely clean. You know, John Glenn, yeah. Campbell also did Mask of Zorro, a solid action film. I've never even seen Mask of Zorro, I will admit, but I would like to at the right time. Breaking out into random dance is so fun, says Jamie. Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I think that I noticed actually that on somewhere on one of the 100,000 streaming channels available, it's probably on Netflix or Amazon Prime, but there's a film that was like called something break something, and it's showing people flying through the air through, doing somersaults, but it's basically based around breakdancing, but they've changed it, into the new whatever form of that exists now. So, I mean, I'm sure it's a fantastic film, but yeah. So it's probably aimed at more of the kind of people who are into that kind of thing, obviously. I'm sure it's not much worse than the Breakdance 2 or Breaking, the first one. Just called Breakdance here, because if it was just called Breaking in the UK, people would be turning up at it thinking it's about breaking into cars or, breaking into shops and stealing stuff, thieves, or people's houses, even worse. I think if people are thieves and they break into shops, not like private businesses, I mean like chains or something like that, and steal lots and lots of electrical components like fridges, that's actually applaudable, and then maybe sell them off cheap to people who really need fridges. That's good, but incredibly hard to do. But yeah, stealing things from people's houses, that's just really below the belt and disreputable behavior. Unsavory, I would say, even. I mean, it's just the kind of people who do that kind of stuff are pretty low people, but, they'll claim, of course, that they were pushed to do it. But, if somebody came in here and stole this Twin Peaks tapes of Agent Cooper, I mean, can you imagine my reaction? Jesus. Or someone came here and they saw that and they were like, I'm having that. Yeah, starring Jeremy Northam. He had a great Hollywood career after this. Yeah, I was talking about it earlier, Jamie. So it's like, I was saying on here on the inside, if you missed it, that it says about Lynch. It says Twin Peaks is his first television series, won the Palme d'Or for White Hart. Mr. Frost, calls them Mr., served for 3 years as writer, story editor, and executive story editor on the hit series Hill Street Blues, for which he won a Writers Guild Award and an Emmy nomination. He is currently scripting Good Morning Chicago, the sequel to Good Morning Vietnam. I would have read that back in the day, when I got this, because somebody sent it to me from America. And Cooper there, it looks pretty good. It does look like him. Someone's done a good effort with this. It's a proper painting, I like a lot of these figures and things. I mean, it's great if people want to collect them, but they just don't look like Cooper. They look like too kind of square-jawed, or he had a kind of sensitive look about him, Cooper, that always was a big part of his appeal, I think, Not just a kind of, he's not like an action hero, of course. So that's, that was part of what was going on in that literal last episode we saw, where it's sort of Cooper as action hero in a way. Like something's gone wrong here. So Yeah, we never saw that. It's a shame. I mean, if they'd had time or whatever to make Good Morning Chicago and everything had been kind of everybody had been signed on for that or something, but clearly maybe they decided not to do it in the end for whatever reason. It's a shame, really, because I think that Robin Williams was great in Good Morning Vietnam. That's easily one of his best films. I saw it at the cinema, I'm sure. Definitely. Yeah, I definitely saw it at the cinema in Ripley. It's a long time since I've seen Good Morning Vietnam, but you know, it's definitely up there. But I can't remember that many. No, it's quite unbelievable, actually. Anyway, I don't know why I keep talking about Good Morning Chicago or whatever it's called. So obviously, it would have been him back in Chicago. It's nothing. Probably they decided if it's not going to be about the war, then maybe people aren't going to be so interested in it or something like that. Who knows? Interesting, though. It's really interesting to think that, you know, Mark Frost was dealing with such big scripts. You know, if he wrote it alone, whatever. I know he did some of the rewrites or was working on the scripts for the Fantastic Four film that came out in the 2000s that nobody much cared for. But he must have got some pretty good paydays for this kind of stuff. That's why his Twitter says X fast lane or something like that. You know, he's not living in the fast lane anymore. Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable that I've not lost track of this. Really, I've still got the Laura Palmer diary and My Life, My Tapes. I imagine that Scott Frost may have been the one who would have done the little bits of extra writing the dialogue for this Twin Peaks tapes as well. But it's only 45 minutes, so it's pretty short. Just 20 minutes or so per tape, per side of the tape, which is, you know, definitely not a 90-minute tape. Oh, I'll show you the tape even now. Look at the good condition it's in there. This is almost like what Cameron and Josh Eisenstadt were doing on their last video. Kevin was telling me, sorry about this, Kevin, but he did tell it me. The end of the last one, Josh said to Cameron, oh no, Cameron said to Josh, are you going to kill me now in your living room? It's obviously a joke about certain, you know, related to Twin Peaks, but definitely, I don't think that happened anyway. That would have been a terrible ending for a video. Jesus. When I left for college, my brothers raided my things, so things come up missing. They raided your things? What, like dolls? I can't really imagine you as someone who would have had a Barbie collection up to the age of 18 or anything like that. But in terms of collectibles or things that they raided, what do you mean exactly? Do you mean like Guns N' Roses cassettes or CDs, or, you know, I mean, I was talking about Guns N' Roses on here the other week because of them appearing at Glastonbury, the UK festival, not Glastonbury Grove, but they got a lot of flack for it, really, which is inevitable, I think. When anything that's just an easy target, people go all in, you know, oh, what a load of shit. It's like, you know, it's terrible. They've passed their best and all that kind of thing. But, you know, I mean, I think they have an audience and the people who really liked it, they really, enjoyed it. So I think a lot of people are just very bitter. And a lot of it is about the state of music nowadays as well. Like, there's no other, for whatever you might think about Guns N' Roses, there aren't any other rock bands out there who are going to appear at a big music festival in the UK now. You know, who is there? Like the 1975? I don't think so. They might be able to get into the media because Matty Healy once went on one date with Taylor Swift or something. But I mean, it's not rock, and it's not even that I dislike the music or anything, because I like a lot of that kind of retro style 80s synth type stuff, which seems to be very popular now, with The Weeknd, even Dua Lipa, all these kind of people. And, Dua Lipa's done a song for Barbie, so that's more reason to see it. Actually, the Billie Eilish song for it is pretty good. Jamie says, I convinced a couple of people to watch Twin Peaks a couple of weeks ago. They are hooked and doing a show about it now on Thursday nights. Spreading the love. Okay, well, I think that's excellent, but also my intention, especially like doing a show now on Monday, is I didn't do one yesterday because I went to bed early and things like that, but I'm more like keeping my eye on when the next thing from the OA creators, Britt Marling and Zal Batman-Gleish, I don't know how to say his name properly, but hope that was about okay. It's like Batman-Gleish. And it's called, we thought it was called Retreat, but the full name of it is actually A Murder at the End of the World. And I've seen trailers for it and things which have only been shown at, I think, the San Diego Comic-Con, and they look really excellent. So I don't think it's as long as the OA in terms of episodes per series or anything, but it's got Clive Owen in it, it's got Britt Marling, it's got Joan Chen, so that's interesting. The soundtrack even of it, I'm sure, will be really great. The way it's being filmed is definitely different to the OA, but I think there will be some links to the OA in some way, in some kind of surreal or just nod to it in existing in the same universe or something like that. But I'm kind of interested in people who could come on to talk about it with me, who are really, very much keen on the OA. And I think the OA is one TV show in the last 10 years or so which has got the level of cultdom around it that Twin Peaks had. Not necessarily the initial level of sort of viewers and everything like that, but it's certainly a cult affair if you go on Reddit and things like that. There's already people just reading absolutely tons into all these little clues which have been dropped at the San Diego Comic-Con. So I'm going to have to start posting on Reddit and Instagram and things like this. And I'm not going to change the channel to Twin Peaks and the OA Coffee Time, but that's basically one direction, I think, one possible direction. Because, even if there was another David Lynch project coming out next week, we still need other things to talk about. So, and it would always be good to get new blood involved if I plan on having interesting videos. Because whilst I like talking on my own, sometimes it's always good to have different people involved. Your brother pawned them, CDs and VHS. This is a disgrace. Well, I used to do that with my old CDs and things like that, but well, it's a shame. It's a shame. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Now I'm glad there's been a few people watching, and I appreciate it. I will be seeing you again soon. Until then, make sure you keep your VHS cassettes intact and in the proper position on the shelf, and I'll see you in the trees. Bye for now.